Hello guys, my name is Nine and welcome back to another base build. Today we're going to be building a little bit of a snowball base, paired with a funnel wall, wide gaps, bunkers, and everything you come to expect in the current metas. And looking on screen now, we'll see our cost and upkeep. As you can see, the cost may be a little higher. Be aware, I did spam garage doors, deployables, and all that stuff, but our upkeep is dirt cheap. It's really easy for a quad to obtain on any kind of server. Alright guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, either leave a comment in the comment section below, or join my Discord, link is in the description as always, and we'll talk there. Alright guys, let's get into a tour.
Alright guys, so starting on the outside of the base, we have 4 externals on this guy. I've made a little bit bigger bedroom or compound modules that give beds, but we have 2 externals at this upkeep, 600 metal frags, 4-inch stone, paired with the bed in here. And then jumping over to the other side, we'll have one that's a little more expensive, but still very reasonable at 1.3k stone, 1.2k metal frags, fully upgraded. And then if we jump around to our main entrance, we have 2 compound entrances as mirrored on either side. Some Patricos into compound that also offer funnel walls on the side here. And if these are upgraded to stone, it'll make it more apparent where you can kind of jump through this section and they can either go right eventually to a funnel wall there or left here into this guy. And I'll re-downgrade that. This is holding up our wide gap. It's what this section's on. Continuing through our furnace funnel, nice and easy. We have more shotgun traps paired with our double ramp peak turrets and a double bedroom. That obviously has even more Patricos into compound. And I really do like these angles, they are very nice. Now we come into here, this is our actual funnel wall. So we have shotgun traps to our left, apologize about that. And to our right we have a semi last chance bag slash bedroom respawn area. It gives some nice breach peaks in and around compound. Really nice for when getting raided for the opposite side here. It's just a nice light. It's just a really nice angle. Also you have peaks back in case it's useful, especially if there's a hill up there. Continuing through, we have just more breach peaks. Using half wall low wall combo, we're able to get this peak right here out into the outside of the furnace. This is a really nice head glitch too because of this metal triangle that's blocking our head. It's really nice. Heavy pot here goes a long way. And just more peaks. And then an honor turret guarding the entire thing. And just for those to know, this is actually multi-TC'd, that's why this very slight gap is here. Okay, taking the ladder up to our first floor, we're actually going to go through open, or semi-open core rather, and jump down to the other side, as this side is actually our starter unit. So one side just takes you up, one side's your starter unit, so as here is our starter unit, just bags, furnaces. I left more room for bags, but just didn't place them as, you know, you do it at your own pacing. Tons of boxes, and our main TC upkeep. It's pretty cheap for what is meant to be a nice little snowball base. A lot of it's buildable off of main TC, which is really nice. So worst case, you could actually almost build the entire thing off of main TC. And that's just really nice for, I mean, just having a base of this size. No too funky things to do. And then back up to our open core, we have our ramp peak turrets. Going through these ramps, they make smaller loot rooms here, but you still get enough loot room in this space, especially with the larger boxes we've all been accustomed to now. You get our tier 3, you can switch it out for research or repair bench over there instead of a locker, but kind of what I just put there. Taking the same jump up that we originally took, will actually take us to our team bedroom area. This is paired with lockers, tons of beds, tons of boxes, 2 individualized bedrooms. And the reason I do this is if you wanted to or need early game battery spots, they'll actually go here instead. But late game, we have bunkers for that. You can also see the core peaks have amazing angles directly onto our jump ups and front doors. So these turrets are super vital. Jumping to the next level, it's actually just our roof. So as you can tell, the base is really small, but it does feel pretty spacious for what it is. Each of these modules are just simple bed locker modules. And using large boxes, you can jump up and use these low wall peaks. You can also use them like this, but if you want the crouch peak, you gotta use something like this. You have wide gaps too. Very basic, but they offer every angle that we need. Paired with turrets, still room to shoot a heli outside. And then coming over here, this is actually our bunker module. So let me make sure I'm building a twig. So one twig ramp right here will open this bunker. And personally, all I like to do is put 2 boxes of battery in here, nothing else, to not have any issues with it. Doing this, you'll be perfectly fine. 2 garage storing them off. And if you are worried about people soft siding into these, I just suggest high quality these 3 tiles. It adds virtually no upkeep since they're triangle tiles. So I'll just upgrade those, but that's just so you guys know. Jumping on out here, these are more of a door peak type, I guess, beat you could call it, to allow us to have a funnel wall. This is just utilizing the footprint to the best of our ability. There's still, no matter what, every angle is covered. There's no real dead spot in compound, which is absolutely beautiful. And if you are wondering where our windmills go, you place them simply right on top of these bedrooms, like this, and you're good to go. And if you wanted to do SAM sites, let's say the military bases in north direction, instead of putting a windmill in this direction, remove it and put a SAM site there. And that is going to be our strategy. And last thing to mention, we have turrets above those single doors, as they just provide, I mean, there's no dead spots on this roof really, which is pretty nice. These turrets can see even all the way to these corners and bunkers, and these guys have nice height and all that. Alrighty guys, without further ado, let's get into an actual build of the base.
Alright guys, I know some people do like to see the footprint before we actually get started, so here we go. This right here is going to be our TC compartment right here, our main loot rooms, or our first floor loot rooms rather, and then this will be our entrance right here out into what is then our entrance to open core on these 2 triangles. I know that's a little confusing, but that's the easiest way to say it. These squares are our breach peaks, these triangles here are our breach peaks, and above those is our bunkers. These are our not gatehouses, but our bedroom modules with turret pods and particle peaks. Then over here is our wide gap module with another gatehouse and particle peaks, and then obviously our externals. Alrighty guys, one thing to mention before I actually wipe the footprint, if you need to add more honeycomb for the base, this base is actually allowing for more honeycomb by me not bringing in these triangles and the wide gaps. You can actually honeycomb here and double up the layers of protection on your open core. Something just to note before we get started building. Alright guys, now be aware I do use a little bit of build grade and stuff like that in my videos to speed up the whole process of getting the base down and all that fun stuff. So I do apologize if that's a little confusing, but for the most part it shouldn't be too bad. Alright guys, so starting off with 1 triangle. This doesn't have to be upgraded right away, but we just like to place our 2 triangles. This is technically the center of our base. Off to one side, we're going to place our TC room, and we're going to wall this guy in like this. Placing our TC, and dooring this off. This is all you need to get started, and then we'll come out here and expand right away to another square. This time I'm going to add a shelf and more door frames to kind of give it a whole walled off perspective. And I'll remove this door just because it's not really needed. Coming on the outside, if you've made this shelf on the interior of here, you can get a shelf all the way into TC room like this. We'll add boxes in a minute, but for now, we're going to keep expanding. We're going to place 1 more square off and to the right with a triangle. And the same thing on this side. Now, one of these sides you can pick to be your entrance and one will not. So the easiest way to do this is if your TC is on this side, so our TC is on the left side, I probably don't want my entrance to kind of sort of be visible through here because this leaves a line of sight to TC. So instead, I'm going to opt for the TC being on this side. So that will be our door in, our wraparound, and then sealing this entire thing off. And the reason I'm showing this like this is some people do accidentally put the TC in the wrong square, so just kind of do it that way and you won't really have that issue. More loot rooms, all of that. And obviously it does look a little different from the way we did in the other one, but that's because the TC is in a different orientation. Cool, ramp loot rooms like that. Now for upgrading this thing, you're just going to want to armor in the entirety of TC compartment like this, and sheet metal literally everything else. I know we haven't honeycombed this yet, but this is just showing how you're going to want to upgrade it in the future. And the other things that are important to HQM are simply the tiles above, just like that. That's all that really needs to happen. Filling everything with garage doors. The door raid does seem kind of cheap, however, the bunkers are really what's going to be holding up that offline raid cost that we're so desired. That is so desired. Each of these ramp loot rooms will get 4 boxes. I'm just placing them like this as kind of just my way. And then the square that leads out into what I would say, I mean not base, we'll have our utility items. But for now, make sure to upgrade this foundation. But for now, we won't really worry about that. And don't have as many problems as I'm having with placing your boxes. Never fun. I would like to remind you guys, if you guys do have any questions, comments, or concerns, always leave a comment down below. Or if you just have an idea of how to improve the base, or just thoughts or ideas, I'd love to hear them. Every base that I'm working on needs improvement. Nothing's perfect, so I'm more than happy to get some constructive criticism to help with that. And that's our upkeep if you just did this module like this. This is a great kind of thing to get down day one and be good. Coming to this other side, we're actually going to honeycomb this guy in, just to be symmetrical. Okay, now we're going to use a little bit of symmetry, but nothing too crazy. So from these triangles, this side and this side, we're going to place one triangle and a door out to the right. We're not going to wall this guy in. Instead, we're going to make this as a jump up. Now the jump up will be a little weird as it's not super normal. So on this side, what's beautiful about this side is that this can just be a normal furnace jump up. But obviously we can't do that on this side as the door is in the way. So we're going to need to use a ladder here, but for now we won't remove it as it's not really, you know, needed. We're not going to need to go back down to that starter room. And early game, double door in this off is perfect. Coming down to these two triangles, we place these guys, honeycomb them in. You can put a piece of honeycomb in here if you want, but that's personal preference. Okay, and then finally we're going to honeycomb the rest of our first floor. Just like this. Now coming from any one of these entrances, what we're going to do, place a wall like this, seal this guy off, and then just wall on the entire perimeter, putting double door frames throughout the middle, shelf in the triangle loot room and in the square loot room, upgrading these guys now, and I just like to upgrade all these guys right away. Now in this square, what you're going to want to do is place a floor frame and then a ramp tile. Upgrade this to sheet metal and this wall sheet metal at your earliest convenience so nothing bad happens. Now at this point you can spam garage doors at any point in this entirety of this floor. The more you add, the stronger this area gets. And if you can, upgrade these triangles to sheet metal before you seal off the sleep room, as they become really difficult to reach later. Just like this, and like that. And then this is our technical mini open core. Removing this door and putting it on the next level up. That will give us our roof exit. Garage door in that guy as well. Now, we don't actually wide gap or do anything yet. Instead, we just keep building up the main base. Honeycomb this next level, capping both those guys off. Where these ramps are, that's putting our turret area, so we're using the honeycomb on this section, and then walling in the rest and honeycombing that one section. This becomes pretty useful later. Also, if you wanted to, this is unused space here. You could locker this or battery this, but in my personal preference, I prefer it to be honeycomb to the team bedroom. Adding the personal bedroom, walling everything in. I like to window this here, all like this. No need for a garage door here. The splash won't matter. Garage doors here yet again. You only technically need 2 per side on this level. And off the sheet metal door right here, swinging out. Sheet metal this section as soon as humanly possible, as you want your auto turret to go here. Pull this auto turret as close to you as possible. Don't put it all the way back here, as close as possible. Now to place the beds and lockers. If it was in my inventory to begin with. Put a locker as far against that wall as possible. You'll be able to fit 2 beds here. Now you should be able to fit 2 large boxes like this. I know my placement wasn't the best. Like that. Oop, way too far. Too far again. That looks good. Now I'm using symmetry, so it's a little weird, but you can also fit 2 small boxes in here. And this gives more than enough spawns for 4 people. And kits. For this room, remember, if you need early game battery locations or furnace or electrical furnace battery locations, these are perfect. But I prefer putting a bed and a locker into these as more secured bedrooms. Also, it uses the honeycomb pretty well. Okay, last thing to upgrade on here is leveling this guy 1 higher. Instead of walls, do it like this. And if you do use a wall on accident, it's okay. It's just visibility to roof, that doesn't really matter. I like to use single doors on roof because I always find myself having extra armored single doors that then eventually get swapped to those roof ones. And just sheet metal the entirety of the top. If you are getting rich, sheet metaling these guys, these triangles like this, on every side is awesome. And then sheet metaling the first layer of honeycomb around the entire base. And if you get to this point before doing externals, compound, and everything, you are in an amazing spot. But obviously, we need anti-grief, so we're going to do that now. So out of twig, we're going to do a little bit of a build out here. So off these doors, we're going to place these square, triangle, square, triangle, 1 more square. And you can see this is like an arrow going back to base. Looks like a little bow tie if you do it like this. And then what we're going to do is break these 3 triangles, place 1 square, and 3 more triangles. This is not what we're going to be left with. Instead, what we're going to do is break these squares, leave all but this 1 triangle, and now build 8 squares out this direction. Or you could do a different build out, but this one will just work easier as requires less breaking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Break everything, come back. And then this is our multi-TC section. Oop, excuse me for doing this. Of course, I always mess something up. Come back with all triangles. And to know that you've done it right, the easiest way to do it should be raised. I'll break all these guys. The easiest way to know that you've done it right is upgrading this raised one to any grade. Other than, I mean, wood doesn't really work, but stone or metal. If you can see this slight gap right here, you've done it perfectly. These don't need to be metal, but I do like them to be metal. That means the multi-TC gap has worked, and we're good to go. Now as stone, we can place 1 square, another square. Excuse me for making those stone, but like this. This is our bedrooms, so these will get walled in. You can also use these as gatehouses, however, I prefer the bedrooms. We'll make the particulars in a second, but for now, let's make the external. Build 4 triangles out, 1 square. Make sure to break these triangles. And then build 3 triangles like this. And the reason I've been doing these instead of the cheaper 2 triangle variant that I've kind of been doing for a while is this allows me to get a bed in this module, which is really nice. And also, if you know how, you can actually freehand, or not freehand, but socket stack a bunker off of this if you really want beefy externals. But that is for those really dedicated players. And just to show how you get the placement here. A box goes like this, as far over the right as possible. And then a bed can go in here. The bed is technically a 1 door raid, but the box is a 4 rocket raid. So putting some walls in here, or some restart kits and mats, very useful. Now adding our connection back to base, make sure that wall is sheet metal to be a technical 8 rocket. No one groups externals that way anyways, so I wouldn't worry too much. That is what 2 of our 4 externals look like. Now, before we build the next 2 externals, which are our wide gaps, we are going to build 1 square off of each of these guys, 1 square, and 1 triangle. Also adding a triangle off of this. That doesn't have a triangle. I am very, oh, no it does, I'm just very confused. Triangle off of this guy, and then a square and a triangle off of this guy. This is what it should look like. These can be sheet metal, but they can be stone as well. This is our funnel, as you can kind of see here. And we'll build that once compound is ready. But for now, we switch back to twig, that we have our build up ready. We build 2 twig triangles, a square, another triangle, another bow tie like design, as you can see here. Then we build 3 squares out. Coming back with triangles. The build out we should be left with is exactly like this. Now placing one square here. These can be wood. That is our little footprint on the back, or going back to base. And remember what I said before. These can technically be honeycomb for the entirety of the base, but to save on cost, they're not technically needed. But if you're alerted, 100% honeycomb those guys all the way up. I'll show that a little bit later and at the end of the video, so don't worry about that too much. Same external design as before. Nothing is different. And if you guys can't already tell, the base is practically done. It is a small solo, or not solo base, but snowball base. It's very cheap and easy to get up, which I absolutely love. Same design. And I am just speed building here as this stuff is very basic. And then we'll wait to do the furnace funnels, or the funnels and stuff, as I want to instead touch over here. I want to add, this is where turrets go. Just making sure to get those first. Now we'll place our compound. So to place our compound, there are going to be 3 walls per section, so 12 walls in total. Off of the gatehouse, you're going to want to do it first, and you're going to want to place it basically straight off. And then lining it up here, look to your right, look for 2 walls of distance. This looks about right. Coming over to here, that looks about 1 wall distance. And coming in here like that. That is pretty good. Now it can be done a little better if I were to have done that wall, this original wall, a little better. Like that, but don't worry too much about it. Same concept here. Takes some practice, but as you can see there, pretty good compound. Now let's do our Patricos and our metal barricades. Patricos are going to be really easy on this side. Upgrading these to wood. And the reason I don't make it stone is it's kind of just a waste of resources. It's just for shotgun traps or 1 rocket anyways, technically to destroy. They're more of a deterrent rather than a full-on, you know, not that they're not usable in that sense. They're just better as just that, a very basic deterrent. And that's all you need to do for this. Our turrets will go behind these guys. And I will place his turrets before I do the chain link. And now I'll do the metal barricades. Apologies, I kind of lied on that. This is how I place them. I'll place them in a vanilla aspect, not flying around. Just like this. If you are having trouble with grubs placing something on here, place an electrical component off of this section right here, and they're hard to break. Same concept on these guys. I like to do 2 barricade externals unless my terrain is scuffed. Making sure to add our doors, our embrasures, and all that fun stuff. I like to use large boxes here. They personally give the best peak in my opinion. Same to over here. And then this I do a little differently. I like to use 2 lockers and 2 beds. And I use the beds as a peak. So I place the beds like this. Pretty good. Next thing to build, 2 half walls here. This is going to be our first set of breach peaks, I'd call it. Capping this guy off as well. A auto turret goes here. This watches a good amount of our, entrance and ways that would be going into base. It also just provides a nice little angle. Goes into here. Placing the proper embrasures on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make our funnel. To make our funnel, we're going to use a half wall, a low wall, and a doorway. Making sure to use a single doorway. Do not use double door for this section. Place shotgun traps in here at your earliest convenience. And to finish the funnel, let's make a window here. 2 half walls. 2 more windows. And we're going to seal this guy off. Adding the necessary embrasures. And I personally like to put a locker in here and a bag. That's all you need. this and a double door to create that funnel that they can't get through. And raids, I'll actually leave it open, just bait them in. And then you get a bag in here. It's not crazy respawn as it's not bad, but as you can tell, if the walls are gone or the furnaces are gone, these angles do become very useful. Let me do the same thing to this side. And as always, I do apologize if I am building too fast. We can always slow down the video. I do try to build at a slower rate than I usually do. So I do apologize if that's annoying to any of you. This gives you more of an idea of how our compound has progressed. The next thing to do is build up these wide gaps, 3 high, and simply add windows here. These are my early game turret locations. They're not super covered, but they offer just basically the full angles on the roof, no matter what. And then to make the next part of the shooting floor, we're going to simply build these guys to high. You don't need frames here. That's why I didn't place, or that's why I removed it. Adding 2 triangles like this, and no walls. Windowing these guys all off. Placing embrasures as needed. And our doors on here. I like to put large boxes here. They offer pretty good peaks. Also, you always need roof box storage. Metal door frames here. It's kind of useful that these are metal because you don't want them to get broken. This will be a turret pod. If you are worried about people HVing your turrets, something strategic to do will be to add a square off of here to make it a much harder hit. And you'll kind of see why. There's no really spot that these turrets won't shoot if you're on your roof, but if someone's HVing, it's kind of an easy shot if it's just open. Just an idea for you guys. Off these breach peak modules, we built out a sheet metal. Make sure to upgrade this frame. And then use half walls. And then full walls. Placing a full wall off of here. And then off of main TC. Here, you're going to see this gap here. This gap means you're doing it right. Now place a wall off that gap. And a twig ramp. The twig ramp here, this wall should be open like this. Come in here and seal in this bunker. And place this triangle like this. If all is working, you are standing in the bunker right now, and this wall is not closed. If it was not working like this, the wall would have closed and you would have messed up. So make sure this twig is placed while you're creating the bunker. And that way, you don't mess up. This doesn't need to be here, apologies. From the inside of this bunker, you can place these ramps like this. You can also do them from the outside, but personal preference. I like to use double doors here, and I won't have these open all the time. It's just kind of like another, these are more door peaks, technically, is what I call them, but they work well. Now coming back inside the bunker, adding 1 sheet metal frame like this. I like to add a shelf this way, and then get it over here. Something to note will be these bunkers do have issues every once in a while, as every bunker does in this game. So be careful when adding too many things or boxes into this bunker. I suggest only placing what I show if you want 0 issues ever. Placing a battery like this and 2 large boxes. That's it. Do not place a easy way out of the bunker. Do not place a furnace here. Do not place a hobo barrel. Do not place a campfire. Do not do it. It can cause upgrading issues that this twig collides when on server reset. It happens on some servers. It's entirely random. I have no real reason why it happens. I apologize in advance if it does happen to you. But this way, you can still garage through these guys off, and these bunkers are amazing. Now, something to note, you can either upgrade these to HQM, which is what I do in any wipe, but another option that you can always do is come below the sheet metal, if you are scared of the meat soft side, and doing something like this. This one will have to be placed off of here. But you get the point. If you want them to not be as soft-sideable, you can do something like this. For the video, we won't have that, but I know some people are worried about that. So that is a way to combat that. Okay, next point to touch on. Windmills. They simply go off of these guys. I touched on this in the tour. If you have SAM sites, don't put windmills on the side that the military base would be. So in my case, it's towards mainland southwest, as I'm on a build server, so somewhere southwest. So this windmill would be instead a SAM site. And I'd probably have another SAM site right here, and that would be good. I know some people like to know that information. I know not everyone does. And yes, I do know that the windmills are not super tall on this base, but the reason being for that is that they're not needed to be as tall when you have 4. But if you want, you can obviously make those higher. All right. Coming into our open core, let's start upgrading literally everything we can. Anything and everything should be sheet metal in here. If you do have armored doors, sheet metal this entire section like this. This is what I've done on real wipes, and sheet metal like this. The next wall to upgrade that's very important is this wall and this wall on every side. I know it looks a little weird, but that's statistically the best way to do it. Tier 3 can go on this wall. Just for simplicity's sake, we'll add just a little bit of a locker on that side, and we're good. This is the base in its entirety done. Every floor, everything done. There's nothing else to do other than place the furnaces and call it a day. I do apologize, I'm waiting this long to place them. I kind of half forgot, so apologies on that standpoint. Just make sure you place your furnaces as tall as possible, as close as possible to those walls. And you can have a furnace funnel like this, and sometimes you won't get a furnace funnel here. You can place this one from in here, is usually the best way, I feel. There you go. Furnace funnel here. Technically a funnel here. Let me try to get a little better for you guys. Just show it off. Can't make it through there, perfect. You can make it through here, perfect. Shotgun traps. Boom. Boom. More shotgun traps. And of course, if you want, upgrade these to wood. There's never a reason not to. Alright, that about does it for everything that is actually on the build. The last thing I'm going to touch on now, apologies, is going to be if you want to extra honeycomb this base, there's a way to do it. I've left this and I've built the footprint like this on purpose to allow you to. So it is a little weird if you have the full base built already, but if you incorporate it into the design just a little bit, it's very simple. All you need to do is come to this section and honeycomb these guys all the way up. And you may be wondering, but this window now, has a blockage. Don't worry about that. That honestly is going to serve you very well in case of a raid. This right here, this section right here is quote unquote the most pummelable looking side. If they hit this side, all this will do is give you extra angles onto them that, if you didn't get early rated and now you're getting rated at this point, this is now just really beneficial. So it looks a little weird in the standpoint, yes, but I wouldn't worry. And if you are worried, add a triangle right here, and that basically honeycombs it, because them funneling a rocket like this, they're killing themselves as they shoot down to that. So, yeah. That is the extra honeycomb I was talking about. You full sheet metal that, it's 3 layers instead then to that first floor. So, as you can see, it does stack up a lot. Alright guys, without further ado, there's nothing else to talk about. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or you just have an idea for a base, please either leave it in the description below, I'd love to read it, or join my Discord, link is always in the description, and we can talk there. Alright guys, I love you all, and I will see you in the next build.